Today we're going to be talking about how to graph quadratic equations in Vertex form. Previously we used the standard form and we're going to learn the second form today. So starting off, Vertex form of a quadratic equation is y equals a times x minus h plus k. Okay, and h comma k is going to be the vertex of the quadratic equation, okay, and x equals h is going to be the axis of symmetry. So just like we have already talked about with the standard form, the x value of the vertex and the equation for the axis of symmetry, that's always going to be the same value. And we know it's going to be the same because the axis of symmetry has to pass through the vertex. So it's important to note here that this equation has a minus for the h, okay? So anytime you pull out the value, if it has a minus and it matches the equation, then you're going to pull out a positive value. If it has a plus and it does not match the equation, that means that they substituted a negative h in there, and so you're going to pull out a negative, okay? So I'm just going to make a little note over here for you to remember. If it says x minus h, we pull out a positive. If it says x plus h, we pull out a negative. Okay, so you're going to have to remember that the h is flipped. Okay, so here you can see this is a plus 4. So we look over here, that's going to be a negative 4 that they inserted into the equation. And then it's also going to be, so that h equals negative 4 and the k equals negative 2 because it has that minus 2. The k has a plus, so it's going to be normal rules. You only have to remember about the h. Okay, so that will be our hk. So our vertex would be negative 4 comma negative 2, and the axis of symmetry would be x equals negative 4. Okay, here you can see we don't have a k value at the back. Okay, the x in the parentheses is minus, so we're going to pull out a positive. Our h is positive 3. There is no plus k at the back. So just like with our standard form when there was no c value, that is going to be 0. Okay, so our vertex would be 3 comma 0. And our axis of symmetry would be x equals 3. Okay, down here we look at number 3. You can see we have a minus 5. So since it has a minus, we're going to pull out a positive. H equals positive 5. Okay, and then the k value is minus 4. So we're going to use that as a negative 4. Okay, your vertex is 5 comma negative 4. And the axis of symmetry is x equals 5. Okay, last one, you can see we don't have any numbers in parentheses. Okay, so what that would mean is this is the simplified version of negative 2 parentheses x minus 0 squared plus 3. Okay, as you know, x minus 0 doesn't really change the x value, and so when we would go ahead to square it, it would just end up being x squared, like you can see up here. So that is going to tell us that our h is 0 and our k is 3. Okay, so down here we have 0 comma 3, and the axis of symmetry is x equals 0. Okay, we're going to get into some graphing examples down here. Okay, so as you can see, we have still our a, h, and k values, right? So I'm going to open up my calculator so we can get the table going in a second. Okay, you can see our a value is negative 1, and you should remember from standard form, if your a value is negative 1, your quadratic is going to open up downward. Okay, our h value, it says plus 2. So if it says plus, we have to pull out a negative. So it's going to be negative 2 and then our k value is going to be 7. Okay, so our vertex here is going to be -2, 7. We can go ahead and put that on our graph. -2 is left 2, and then up 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up here. Okay. Now, our axis of symmetry, remember, has to go through the vertex. So that's going to be x equals -2. Okay, when you do the table, it's always best to put the vertex in the middle. So that way you'll have similar y values on either side of the vertex. Okay, so we can go ahead right now and actually graph that in our calculator. Negative x plus 2 squared plus 7. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, we will open up a new page. If you are at home on quarantine right now and you are wanting to graph this, you're going to want to use the Desmos calculator, DESMOS, and you can put it into that calculator. Okay, but here we're going to go ahead and put it negative x plus 2 squared is on the outside of the parentheses plus 7. Okay, you can see it looks similar to where we were before. We'll push Control T to pull up our table. Okay, and then remember, we would like to have the vertex in the vertex in the center of our table. So we want that -2 to be in the middle, and we'll surround it with the others on the sides. Okay, so we'll start with -4, and that's going to be +3 here. I'll go ahead and fill these in, -3, -1, 0. Okay, so we'll look back, -3 is 6. And then the good thing about the vertex being in the middle is you only have to look up those two because these are matching, okay? So if you look right here, this y value is going to match this y value. And on the other side of the vertex, this y value matches this y value. Okay, so we can go ahead and put that on the graph. We have, we already did our vertex that's in the middle. So then we have -3, 6, -1, 6, and then we have -4, 3. So it drops down to here, and 0, 3. Okay, so we'll go ahead and make our parabola. Okay, we already said that our axis of symmetry was x minus 2, and you can see pretty clearly here that that's what it is. The domain is going to be all real numbers because this is not a real world problem. You can see that it's going to go left forever and it's going to go right forever. So that's going to give us all real numbers. The range is always going to start with a y, and it's going to end with the y value of our vertex. Okay, so we have to see, are all of these values less than 7, or do all of these values go above 7? And since our parabola opens down, we can see that they're going to be less than or equal to 7.